How much have you looked into psychedelics and the origins of religious experiences?
Your driver was telling me about it on the way here. It sounds like
You haven't looked into that other than that?
Well, I have a former student who had an experience of God on a psychedelic.
Me too.
So I'm aware of those experiences.
You haven't had them?
I have not.
Would you want to?
I'm sort of happy with the experiences of God I've had in the sort of...
Wouldn't you like to actually say hi?
What's that? Stay high?
Say hi.
Say hi. Say hi.
Like say hello to God.
Yeah. Well, I found other ways to do it, but, I'm not... and again, this is the thing we were saying about personal experience before.
Right.
It's not dispositive of these big discussions.
Are you aware of John Marco Allegro?
No.
The John Marco Allegro, who was a scholar, biblical scholar, and he was also an ordained minister who became agnostic when he started studying theology. He was one of the people that deciphered the Dead Sea Scrolls, and he worked with it over a period of 14 years deciphering it, and it's very controversial, but his interpretation of Christianity after reading these scrolls was that it was initially about psychedelic mushroom rituals and fertility rituals, and that this was what they were documenting in these ancient scrolls, and that what he believed is that these psychedelic mushrooms were what we thought of as mana, or the host, the body of Christ, that these experiences were directly attributed to people taking these psychedelic mushrooms in these rituals. And many people who have had psychedelic experiences, especially on psilocybin and on other like very potent psychedelic drugs.
Is that the acting agent within mushrooms that creates the psychedelic?
That's in one type of mushroom. Okay. The one that John Marco Allegro alleges is a little bit more complex. It's called the Amanita muscaria, and it's more complex in that the belief is that it is seasonably variable, genetically variable, and that it must be cultivated in a specific way. And many people who have tried to achieve these states with Amanita muscaria have failed, where others have succeeded. And it's because it's illegal and frowned upon. It's very complex. John Hopkins has done. They've done a lot of work on psilocybin, and so have MAPS, and so there's a lot of MAPS has done a lot of work with various psychedelic drugs. But the idea is that these ancient rituals were how they connected to God, and that they hid these from the conquering Romans and from all these different religions that wanted to impose their philosophies on them when the people were conquered. But they kept these parables, and they kept these stories, and they kept these legends of these experiences. And John Marco Allegro wrote this book called The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross. It's a very interesting book. And then he wrote another book called, I think that book, was it... God, the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Christian Myth is his other book that he wrote about it. But it's interesting. And
Joe, what was your experience of God when you were using those substances? Yeah.
I'm kind of joking around when I said it's God. What it seems like is the root of everything. Like when you have these experiences, they're so profound and so transformatory. They're so transformational. They have this impact on you where you enter into a realm of the impossible, and it's so easy to get to. It just doesn't take that long, and then all of a sudden you're there, especially through things like dimethyltryptamine, which is also endogenous in the human brain. If you can take that, you will be transported into a realm of impossible beauty, of geometric patterns that move and dance in front of you, and you're confronted with some sort of intelligence. Some sort of intelligence that's beyond anything you could possibly comprehend in our material realm. I don't know what it is. No one knows what it is. People have, they think it's a well of souls. They think it's an encounter with God. They think it's aliens. They think it's so many different things. But there's a university in, I believe it's in London, that Graham Hancock was talking about, where they're doing they're putting these people on an IV drip of dimethyltryptamine. Dimethyltryptamine is a very, very potent psychedelic, but the body brings it back to baseline very quickly because it's endogenous in the human body. It's one of the quickest drugs from the initial breakthrough experiences, which is insanely profound, to 15 minutes later you're completely sober. It's very, very quick. And these people that are having these experiences, they're mapping out these experiences in this very new and profound way, where they're saying there might be some sort of chemical portal in the mind that can be activated through these psychedelic chemicals. And
then you experience or perceive sort of transcendent beauty or
overwhelming in a way that it's not. This is not like, sitting in a field and feeling love. This is just an overwhelming thing that feels more real than reality itself. And it seems like you're kind of dipping your toe also into this infinite realm. And when you're you almost feel like you're in the waiting room, like you can't really handle the whole thing. And
so having had an experience like that, you're not inclined to a simplistic materialism as there's something, you're saying there's something more.
Well, anybody who hasn't had that experience that wants to diminish it or wants to somehow or another have a reductionist take of what it means to be a human being. I think you've had a limited amount of experiences, if you want to say that. Like I don't know how you could dismiss that without having it. Yeah. And a lot of people like Dawkins have not had that. And I think, and he spoke openly about perhaps maybe one day taking LSD under the right clinical settings, and he probably should do that. And it would be pretty profound. But I would actually recommend
Are there downsides of these experiences that people have? Are there bad trips, as it were?
Sure. Yeah, sure. People have bad trips. And I think some of that bad trip is trying to control the trip because your ego sort of takes over and you try to stop it because it's so overwhelming and scary.
And maybe a little afraid.
It's very terrifying. It's terrifying because it's a complete loss of control and reality melts down in front of you.